So reacting to some more Timcast content. So he's talking about how Trump is gonna. Well, I guess Trump's saying he's gonna start hitting some targets in Mexico, which I think he should do. Like all those fucking drug labs and drug cartels. Like, bro, this will literally save Mexico and save a bunch of U.S. citizens from drug overdoses and stuff. You know, just really get rid of a big threat that's across the border. Although they don't really threaten us, like physically, they do threaten like drug addicted people here in America. You know, and I think it'd be a good thing to get rid of these drug cartels. You know, like you really can't like make a really good defense that why they shouldn't like be killed and stuff because like they're really just affecting people's lives with all these drugs they're making. You know, and they're corrupting all the politicians and people that are in their area so they can, have the freedom to do whatever they want, So, but yeah, let's see what Tim really has to say. All right, let's go.
It's absolutely fascinating to me that the snatch and grab of Maduro from Venezuela is old news. Now, for the Culture War podcast, we're actually talking, we were planning a debate on the issues of the invasion of Venezuela. We now have reports that Trump will launch an attack on Mexico. We actually have the statement from Trump himself. He didn't explicitly say we're going to attack Mexico and launch a ground incursion. He says we're going to start hitting land over the drug cartels in Mexico, which is, of course, the implication you're going to have to go into Mexico. Now, the funny thing is, we had been discussing the potential for World War III when the Minneapolis shooting happened. Now, who wants to talk about that, to be completely honest? I don't think this story is actually very important. So we're going to break down exactly what Trump said. But I actually think the bigger debate is still going to be Minnesota, the occupation, and what's currently going on. Now, aside from the U.S. to start hitting land...
Yeah, they're going to, in the media, they're going to have that just going nonstop because the left, like leftist media and leftist politicians really don't have anything really against Trump or against the Republicans really of like substance. Like this, they have this. They got the deportations, the wrongful deportations, the very few people, and they got the fucking Epstein files. That's really all they got. Like, they don't really have anything, like, they can fight against Trump. Like, they can't say what Trump is doing anything wrong. You can, like, okay, like, the stuff he's doing, you can say maybe you don't like, but you can't say he's wrong. Like, could you say, could you say I'm wrong? Like, if I tell you, you ask me, no, actually, let's do this. If I say 2 + 2 is fucking 4, somebody get mad, be like, why'd you say fucking? Why couldn't you just say it was like 2 + 2 is 4 and I put a cuss word in it? They're more worried about the cuss word than the answer I just fucking gave them. Like, okay, you're right. I couldn't have said that. But am I wrong? No, you're not wrong. Okay, then what the fuck are you talking about then? Like, the hell? Like, that's really more effeminate behavior. Like, it's like you're worried about, like, all this bullshit. Okay. Is overall what he's doing correct? Yes. Then shut the fuck up. Like, what the hell are you talking about? That's my view of it.
Mexico, we actually have something a bit more fun, but kind of creepy. Baba Vanga. That's right. The blind Bulgarian psychic predicted 2026 would be the start of World War III. And here we are. It's getting crazy, isn't it? Why did the U.S. take Maduro? Well, there's a couple theories. One of the reasons people believe is that Trump wanted to get proof on election meddling, that Venezuela had been stealing elections. Maybe. Seems a little bit too perfect for the Trump narrative. Another reason is that Venezuela had been allowing Iranian military operations, Chinese military operations, and was supplying Iran, Russia, and China with sanctioned oil. Trump then basically says,
I haven't really done any research to that. Do I believe that Venezuela probably did that? Of course, they most likely did that. If U.S. is sanctioning them, who else is going to bother fucking oil? Like, obviously, they probably most likely did it. Like, the hell?
Not going to let you give our adversaries cheap energy to wage war on us. So he cut that off. China's not going to sit idly by. But one fascinating thing about this is that reportedly in Venezuela, China had these advanced anti-aircraft radar and satellite, I think radar, and they did not detect the U.S. incursion. That says a lot. The funny thing about warfare right now is that we don't actually know if our weapons work. We put on these displays of power with these tests. We have jets fly in the air and launch missiles, but they're not practically applied. So when China, Iran, Russia, or even the U.S. builds a weapon detection system, you don't know it's actually going to work. You can test it only against the weapons you know about and that you have the capability to test yourselves. Now, here's your own news. Trump says U.S. to start now hitting land in Mexico, targeting drug cartels. Well, here's the actual video from Trump. I want to make sure you have the full context of what Trump said and how he said it. Here you go.
We are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country, but the cartels are running and they're killing 250, 300,000 people in our country every single year. The drugs.
Well, there you go. I'll play it one more time for you. If I can. Apparently it's not loading. Just to make sure that we have the context clear.
We are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country, but the cartels are running and they're killing 250, 300,000 people in our country every single year.
He says we're going to start hitting land with regards to the drug cartels that are running Mexico. He never explicitly said we're going to bomb Mexico, but I think anybody who's going to argue he's not saying that, you're barking up the wrong tree. Trump, there's no interpretation where it's like, well, maybe he's going to go after Mexican cartels that are in, I don't know, Guadalajara. It's like, no. Well, actually, I mean, yeah, isn't that Mexico anyway? He's not going to attack Mexican cartels running the country in Guatemala. Let me do my geography. Yeah, Guadalajara, Mexico, literally. So we don't know. I think it's fair to say this is likely what's going to happen. He's going to be actually he is going to be targeting Guadalajara, right? Donald Trump said U.S. forces will start now hitting land in Mexico, targeting drug cartels following months of naval strikes against narco boats. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has expressed opposition to this move. Trump provided no additional information on the timing or scope of the planned land attacks. Any military strikes on Mexican territory without Mexico's consent would violate international law and mark an unprecedented attack on a U.S. ally and major trading partner. Yes, but there is something called letters of marque and reprisal. That is, sure, we may be allied with Mexico, they're our neighbor to the south. That doesn't mean we're going to let cartels, extra governmental organizations, kill our people or even their people. So why wouldn't we shut them down? The government seems to be in cahoots with the cartel. So when we say we're allied with them, if they're being run by the cartels, we're not. They say the statement follows Saturday's Delta Forces-led capture of Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro at Caracas compound where he was sheltering. U.S. strikes on narco boats have resulted in the death of more than 100 people. The naval campaign has targeted vessels suspected of smuggling cocaine and fentanyl. Ground strikes on cartels in Mexico will represent a substantial expansion of U.S. military involvement in the region. Mexico's two most powerful criminal organizations, the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel, control vast territories, have been locked in violent competition that killed more than 30,000 people last year. Trump designated 6 Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations in February of 25, a move Mexico condemned as threatening its sovereignty and potentially justifying military intervention. Sheinbaum said Monday that Americans do not belong to any single nation. The Americas, responding to Trump's assertion of Washington's dominance over the hemisphere after Maduro's capture. This is called the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine was a informal statement. Basically, we're not going to let foreign powers come into our hemisphere and start exerting authority against us. Basically, with Spain and France and the British Crown, the U.S. was like, we've established dominance in the region, and if we allow European colonial powers to come to these other countries and create new colonies, we will be at war forever. So we are going to shut that down and control it. The issue now is, the Monroe Doctrine basically states, the U.S. will be always the dominant power in the Western Hemisphere. As for the rest of the world, the U.S. has tried to maintain unipolar dominance for some time. What does that mean? Unipolar basically means there is one dominant power. They control everything. Right now, we are experiencing what is called a multipolar emergence. China, the BRICS nations, are now rivaling the economic and military power of the United States. Now, to be fair, rivaling, but not equal. The U.S. still basically has everybody on the ropes, and clearly, with the move made against Venezuela, we still got it. We do. But the petrodollar has faltered. The contract with Saudi Arabia to make sure everyone's buying oil with dollars is over. And now Venezuela is selling oil that we sanctioned to our adversaries. That's why Trump said no. So
yeah, man. So that's why we're going in there, and we're gonna use the Venezuela oil, and we're gonna make that the new petrodollar. Which I think it's kind of weird how Saudi Arabia didn't renew the deal with the United States, even though we have our forces there to protect them from other Muslim nations. Like, honestly, like, if I was president, I'd be like, so you're not going to renew our deal? Okay. All U.S. troops out of Saudi Arabia. You guys fight your own battles. You can still buy equipment from us, obviously. You can buy military equipment, anything you want from us. Tech, we got you. But military troops aren't protecting you guys anymore. So, that's what I would do. And I'm pretty sure that would guarantee another fucking, what? At least maybe 25-year petrodollar deal, to keep the U.S. dollar as part of the, as the standard for the currency you have to use to purchase your oil, So that also means that, since the United States isn't the dominant currency for which you can buy your oil, that means we could potentially have higher inflation from now because of this, because there's nothing to back our dollar, so that means like it's not really worth anything, It was worth this much money in oil, it was worth oil, but now it's worth, nothing because it's not backed by anything. So, it's kind of worthless. So.
Funny. I've been having people comment saying, "Tim, you're a neocon now." I'm not here to play these fake games. Okay. Neocons said that we should spend 20 years occupying Afghanistan to turn it into democracy. That's stupid. There was no legitimate reason to have invaded Afghanistan and Iraq. There was one basic reason. We wanted to subjugate Iran, one of the nations opposing the liberal economic order. Now, the issue with Venezuela is there are similarities and there is an issue overlap. That is, Venezuela defies the liberal economic order, it defies the petrodollar standard, and it subverts unipolar American dominance. The difference being, this is actually our backyard, there's drug trafficking, and he is actively selling fuel to our enemies overseas. These are completely different things. If your argument is that the U.S. should never engage internationally, that would be isolationism. I've never been an isolationist. I have said, invading a country, two countries, 20,000 miles away on fake reasons, and then trying to nation build for 20 years is retarded. It cost us money, it hurt our economy, it was stupid. Venezuela. I'm still not a fan of going in and removing Maduro the way we did. I prefer soft power because this can create instability, but there's certainly very different circumstances. Venezuela, we have told these countries, you know what? We're fighting. We're in a dispute, right? We're gonna tell our friends, ain't nobody gonna be trading with you unless you're gonna trade in the way we want you to trade. I think that's fair. It's called soft power. It avoids war. Well, Venezuela says we're gonna ignore those threats and do whatever we want. If the carrot don't work, then you get a stick. The point is this. We can't just let Venezuela empower and expand the BRICS alliances because we will be crushed in the long run.
Facts.
We have a right to assert soft power. They do too. And they do actively. Avoiding war is the point. But what happens when you have an expanding BRICS economy? It doesn't make sense for American interests to simply say, I guess we're going to die. And I mean that as a system, as a way of life, and an ideology. We are substantially superior to the ideological views of the BRICS nations. So we exert soft power. We say, listen, we're not going to trade with you. We're gonna avoid war, but we're not going to let you compete with us in the international. We are controlling this. We are policing. Our ideals are better. When they then say your ideals are worthless and we'll do whatever we want, we then say, then we'll stop you. Does that mean we should invade Iraq and Afghanistan? Absolutely not. Despite the fact Iran is one of these countries, no. But that was the real reason we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, was to create a pincer strike against Iran from both directions. Iran being heavily mountainous and hard to invade, we've been unable to do it. And I don't think we should. I think the sanctions over a long period of time are probably the way to go, and we avoid war. Iran has funded military attacks against us because they have an ideological view they want to defend. I respect it. Not their view, but that they have one and they want to defend it, but we're going to win. Venezuela, on the other hand, is in our hemisphere, in our backyard, supplying weapons, drugs, and a whole slew of other criminal activities against our allies. And supplying our adversaries. So at a certain point, we say, okay, this has to stop. Does that mean we should go in and pull Maduro out by force? No. It means there's a degree of escalation we are going to take. That's why I'm a bit more lukewarm, but still kind of against the move made against Venezuela. And the move against Mexico, I think, is also equally destabilizing. So we'll see. I can't see the future. All I can see is the past and what happened. And that's why I say, it's Iraq in a hard place and they're hard decisions, but this is certainly not Iraq and Afghanistan. I still don't think it's good.
Cool. I kind of agree with what Tim is saying, mostly kind of everything, U.S. should assert its dominance over the Western Hemisphere because It only makes sense. Like, you don't want another potential superpower or regional power in your area, and could potentially like pose a threat to you in the future. Like, what's the point of that? Like, nah, bro, we're just gonna stop it right now. Like, nah, bro, just stay out of here, man. Like, it makes sense. But let me know what you guys think. You think Trump's actually gonna start bombing these cartels and blowing them up? Yeah, just let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble, so I'll catch you guys later.